What's up? It's Chris. Welcome to VHP Engines. And, boy, let me tell you something. We're here for a fucking super secret. I'm going to reveal the secrets that I've been holding out on for so long. Not really. I've talked about it before. But, of course, it's never the focus because it's never, like, I guess the normal way to go about things. So let's talk about some unnormal things. Simple question got dropped earlier. How much power can you see out of this setup with an LS head? Courtesy of Tyler Bailey. Well, Mr. Tyler Bailey, like I mentioned in the comment in my reply, when you're talking turbo setups and talking about making power, it's simply a matter of adding more boost to the equation. How much power do you want to make? And throw more fucking boost at it till you get there. Alright? Now, of course, the supporting mods need to increase as well. So, as I've mentioned before, I think in VTEC versus non-VTEC, VTEC will always make more power, than the non-VTEC version. Like, if you take them just as they are, side by side, you add VTEC to the equation, and those better flowing heads, you're going to make more power, and you're going to make it easier. So that's why I say if you have the choice to go between the two, VTEC is like the ultimate bolt-on to throw onto your build, right? You're going to make that much more power easier. Now, just because you can make that power easier with the VTEC head doesn't mean you can't make that same power without the VTEC head. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to build your non-VTEC head as well. Alright, you can still take a stock LS head, throw it on there, and still make your 500 horsepower off the same package. You just might need a little bit of a bigger turbo. You might need to size up over what I would normally recommend. You might need a little bigger injectors because you might need some more fuel. Alright, so the ultimate budget package, the ultimate budget B-Series package to make 500 horsepower, is the same block I just built, the exact same one. Nippon Racing pistons, scat rods, that combo is $525, and a fucking throwaway B18 head that's non-VTEC. Alright, so take a throwaway VTEC head, a non-VTEC head, and slap it onto that same B18 block, and you got yourself a 500 horsepower build. Now you're gonna change where that power is engaged or whatnot, because of course the fucking without cams or in high compression, you're gonna be on the low end side of power. Now, of course, you can play with this a little bit. You can still get 10 something compression and fucking still make use that to make up for your lack of VTEC. Also, you could put cams. What would I say? I would say, I guess, now that this is something I didn't think about. So here's something kind of new to add, but it also does talk about the compression ratios and whatnot. For I said, like, I've said one thing, before, like, nowadays most people don't necessarily go with low compression. So if you want to make up the difference for not having the VTEC head, instead of just getting regular old B18 pistons that are turbo, you could get the B16. I'm pretty sure that they have the PR3 floating. Of course, I don't even really need to look at it. I've had it before. PR3 floating pistons. So you get the PR3 pistons from Nippon Racing, and you just get the same package, but instead of getting the turbo pistons, which are the LSs, which are like 9.8 to 1 or 9.6 to 1, you get the PR3s, which is 10 something compression with the LS head, and there you have yourself a nice little compression bump. Shizzle. My keyboard is behind the tripod. Get a little closer to you guys. Nippon Racing PR3 pistons. Let's see. Look around here. Yep, there they are. 81mm JDM full floating Nippon Racing PR3 pistons. Okay, well, I'm looking at the picture here, and I guess you're looking at not necessarily looking at something that's the same material that the B18 pistons are made out of. Let me do a little clicky here. Sorry, we got a little fluff in here, a little in between time because I wasn't ready. This is something I didn't think about beforehand. Let's see details. Alright, piston design for high compression, all motor engines with a compression ratio of 10.8 to 1 to 12.01. Of course, that's depending on the package that you decide to go with. Identical cylinder pressure, yielding horsepower, more horsepower and better efficiency. Anyway, so these pistons aren't exactly the same kind of material that they make the V18s with. But anyway, it's still something to consider. I still would throw that kind of power at it. But anyway, besides the whole fact of changing compression up or whatnot, you could definitely still use standard compression V18 pistons, and as like the same package I just made for this guy, and still make the power. Because of the fact they're on the lower side of compression, you're gonna need more boost. So yeah, like normally I would say GT35R, like a 70mm turbo or whatnot, but you might need to go a little bigger, because I remember I had around the same kind of compression for my B16, and I needed to throw all kinds of boost at it. I think I did make like 440, right around the 450 mark, with a Godspeed GT35R turbo. But it took like, what was it, 20 something pounds of boost, like 24 pounds of boost out of that little turbo. So, and then like by the time 2 years later, after having that turbo set up, I eventually I garnered a good amount of shaft play in the turbo. So to make up for that, of course, because like I've also mentioned before in other videos that if like the harder you push the turbo, the more strain you put on that turbo, of course, the shorter its lifespan is going to be. So if you want to make more power with less boost or whatnot, a bigger turbo would come into play there. Now, as far as lag for that, well, I don't think that it would be. I don't think it would really be a big issue there, because I wouldn't say you're going with a huge turbo. You're going a size up from what you get like that. And you probably could still use GT35R, especially depending on what brand you go with, to make the 500 horsepower easy. But you could still see like a 450 horsepower, a 450 wheel horsepower goal for just a straight turbo LS. I don't think is that hard to get. And of course, you got to remember that when I'm talking about shit like this, I'm talking about on pump. I'm not even talking about throwing E85 at it. Of course, when you throw E85 at it, it becomes a whole lot easier to do things like this. But I still think that 500 horsepower on a straight LS setup is a doable thing. You're just probably, of course, like I said, your power band is going to change. You're not going to make the power up top. You'll probably make it a little bit better on the low end side. And I think that mild port work and cam work, or cams, could definitely change that. But to keep on the budget side, stock B18 head, can you make 500 wheel horsepower? Yes. So I'm sorry if I seem like I'm dancing around that a little bit, because I'm not trying to. The answer is yes. You can still make that kind of power without a VTEC head. It's just easier. I think that it could be, was it 20-30 horsepower gain from just using a VTEC head? That's a big bump from just changing your head up. So there's that. But at the same time, if you're talking boost and you're looking at 20-30 horsepower gain from the head, do you really want to spend potentially $500 for a head? Now, if you're in a very populated city and the heads aren't super expensive and aren't super hard to come by, then you're looking at maybe like $250, $300 for a head. But still, a $300 head for 20-30 horsepower, or shit, you can even spend that on cams, or just not spend it at all and save that money. Because like a B18 head, I think I've only ever bought a head by itself one time, and I paid $25 for it. The rest of the B18 heads I got from buying long blocks, and they just get stacked all over the place because I don't use them. I don't throw them away though, because you never know when you can use them. And now, of course, I'm planning and plotting on some other things I might do. There's some things I'm considering doing with B18 heads to make them a little bit more sellable. And also, I'm sitting on a couple heads, and I plan on doing this build right now that I'm talking to you about. I may have mentioned it once or twice, but never really focused on it. There's two things. One, when I was sitting with Jesse at Nippon Racing, on Honda Day, and he was like, "Well, what's your next Forge build?" And I was like, "Well, I got a B18 that I'm thinking about doing it." And I meant straight non-VTEC LS B18. A non-VTEC build is something I wanted to do for a long time, and I have a set of 81.5 millimeter Nippon Racing pistons and scat rods on the side that I pulled out of a block a long time ago that I bought because the engine was supposedly no good. But I got it for like $50 and it had fucking forged pistons or forged rods and Nippon Racing pistons in it. Now the issue was is the deck is chipped up real bad in the cylinder, so it was blowing head gaskets. And so I already took it by the machine shop and showed the machinist. I was like, look, can you deck this? Is it, because it's kind of deep. I was like, can this be decked for, you know, to be reused? And they think they can do it. So I've been still in that block forever. Or I have another block sitting outside that I could fucking go. Or I have two options because Jesse decided to give me those Tron pistons right there. They're 81.5 millimeter. And here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I'm going to do two B18s. I think I'm gonna use the fucking pistons and rods I got from that one block and just deck that one and send that block. And I'm also gonna do another one with forged pistons. Now, what's the two goals for them? That's the difference, right? We're gonna do both straight LSs, right? Both stock sleeves. So the Nippon Racing one, the Nippon Racing scat rod one will be for pump gas, and the fucking Tron one over there, I'm thinking E85 and send it to the moon. Like I'm gonna just motherfucking just keep pushing power out of that thing until I'm impressed. I guess I want to see if we can do 600 85 with a stock B18 head. I don't see why we couldn't. So I'm definitely willing to try that now. The problem is, of course, guys, you know, I'm finishing the Integra. I'm doing the RSX next. So it's, you know, it's a little bit down the road for me to get to these. But the good thing is because I'm going to use the B18 head and not going to go VTEC, that saves me literally $600 between the two. So, and I already have B18 heads, and I already have a set of fucking ARP head studs for them. So when I decide to get one of those blocks ready, the long block is done like that. And I'm not too terribly worried about buying a fucking transmission. I'll find one down here. I'll either find one that needs repair and fix it, or I'll go to Eddie over at Genesis and see about getting a fresh ready from him. I think he charged like $700 or $600. I can't remember. But anyway, I get one. Transmission's not that big a deal. And then, of course, the turbo stuff is also trivial. So yeah, I guess the best budget you can do is to buy the Nippon Racing Scat combo and go with that. And I guess I'll have to do like a follow-up on this combination here later. Maybe I'll do a separate video that I'll just tag in this when I'm done. Let me see. Let me spend another 2 minutes here real quick looking, because I want to say that I've seen these motherfucking pistons done up like the turbo fashion or whatnot, but I don't know. I'd still personally throw the power at it because these Nippon Racing pistons are generally stronger than OEM, and OEM pistons, you know, full stock B series pistons have gone up pretty high in numbers before. They just don't tend to last really long because the ring lands tend to go out them. But anyway, yeah, that's you can take the same exact setup that I just built for homeboy over there at Mr. Roger. You could do that and use a B18 head and still make your 500 horsepower. You're just gonna have to upsize a couple of things. And honestly, you know, I'm always preaching cheap shit. And you know, as far as if you're buying a Chinese turbo, a China turbo, or whatnot, then you can literally buy almost any size at almost the exact same price. So it's not even going to kill you there. It's just whether you choose to be picky or not. But if you're asking me about if you can, you know, use a non-VTEC head and go with it, then I'm thinking that you're already nitpicking at the prices. So why not just go cheap? At the end of the day, it's not going to cost you so much that if something happens, it's like the end of the world. That's the great thing about Honda in general. I mean, of course, if you're not using me to build it, if you're building this yourself, it's not really going to cost you too much. Now, if you use me, it's going to cost you, you know, twice as much on the engine build side, like, because I'm going to, you know, I need to get paid and shipping needs to get covered. And I'm not really taking away much money on labor now. Labor and parts, I'm not really getting that much. So, well, like I said, I quoted you $1,200 for this Nippon Racing Scat combo over here. That's $1,200 at your doorstep. That covers parts, that covers shipping, that covers labor, you know, everything. So you can still make the same, you know, still spend the same $1,200 and have a non-VTEC package to go with it over the fact of the VTEC. You don't have to go B20, or you don't have to go GSR head, B16 head to make the same power. Yeah, and honestly, I'm looking forward to the non-VTEC thing. just because, be a little different. Plus, I like the idea of not having to wait for VTech to reach your full potential. All right, guys. So this has stretched a lot longer than I expected it to. I thought it was gonna be something quick, so I'm gonna wrap it up. And food for thought for you guys. Y'all can still make good power without having to get a B16 GSR head. That you don't have to do that. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.